Jimmy Butler, he's a very interesting player to me.
He's like, oh, shoot, I don't know where to go with the ball because I haven't been able to think.
It was a great series. Game 4 was one of the best games I've ever watched in my entire life. Now LeBron's a 4-time champion, and Anthony Davis gets his first.
It's unacceptable. So happy when the Astros lost because it would definitely be a 2020 thing.
Yeah, I was impressed by their game. Braden Point, Andre Palat, Nikita Kucherov, that was the best line in the playoffs, no doubt.
Stay undefeated when they face the mighty Cowboys with Garrett Gilbert.
Hey everyone, I'm Jared Sandler, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. We are reviewing currently what's next for the teams that are currently out of the playoffs and lost in the divisional round of the MLB. And this one is the Detroit Tigers, where the big question is Skubal, but I wonder how much of that is actually happening and kind of what Skubal says. If they can extend Skubal because he's still with them for a little bit, but get him long term, I think they have the best outlook just given how young this team is.
This is the offseason to do it, Kevin, because you don't want to go into next offseason without signing to an extension and get nothing for what a lot of people would say is the best pitcher in baseball, if not a top 3 pitcher. So
yeah, absolutely.
This is the offseason to do it. If they do not sign him to a long-term extension this offseason, I would see that as him not returning at all.
I don't know. It would increase the likelihood because they could trade him just because.
Well, also, there's just no way they go into next offseason with no security blanket. There's no way.
Yeah. It would be interesting, but it would also be good to do it now so then they can get him signed long-term and focus because, yes, they did lose in this postseason in a tough fashion against the Mariners, going 15 innings in the deciding game. But to me, they're a team that is young on the hitting side. You have Riley Green. He's still figuring out. There are some veterans. You mentioned Gleyber Torres, Javier Baez, but to me, it's really building this as a young team, and it's just letting guys develop and maybe kind of looking at what guys have or have not developed and going in free agency to fill positions.
Yeah, they have major pitching concerns, though, after Skubal in the rotation. If they lose Skubal, then they don't have pitching that's even 500 caliber. That's kind of the problem that they have. So with Skubal, they're a contending team 100% because they have, again, a top 3 pitcher in baseball. And they have enough starters behind him to get you wins. But if you lose him, you don't have an ace in the lineup. And even though some of the guys, Casey Mize and some others are young, coming up and pitching decent, you need Skubal long term. And I don't see how you go into this season because Skubal doesn't like to negotiate mid-season. If you enter the season without him signed, I would take that as him not coming back long term.
I don't know. It would prove to be very.
Skubal didn't want to do any negotiations mid-season. So if you go into the season without him signed, that's like you don't have him anymore. You either have to take the risk of going into the offseason and get nothing for one of the best pitchers of a generation, like the Angels did with Ohtani, or trade him at the deadline for something.
Yeah, it would just be a huge question. So hopefully they get it done because it's fun having Detroit baseball being really good. And yeah, you mentioned Casey Mize. That could be. I'm going to go under. They're going to operate like this year, getting Skubal and getting him signed, or just at least doing a lot of signings to entice Skubal to sign with them. That could be a thing where they go out and sign starting pitching just so they can do well, because that is a problem for them. And then bullpen to me is another issue. And then maybe they just rely on their farm to build hitters and get the right hitters for the team.
Yeah, but they have to re-sign Skubal over the offseason. It's a must. It's a must.
It's a must. And we'll have to see. It will be a huge question. But if they do, then they haven't even reached their window yet. Their window is just open because they have a guy like Skubal. But
their window is open, but they're not at near any concerning level if they do re-sign him. If they don't, then their window won't be open for another 5 years at least because their pitching is not good enough right now.
And to me, their hitting, yes, it was great at the beginning, but then it faltered late in the season. That's something, if they can get consistent, they can turn into a top contender with Scooble.
Sure. And Baez and Torres and then Kerry Carpenter, those were the 3 best hitters in the postseason. You'd like to see all those guys come back. I know that Torres and Javi were all-stars this year. Javi's still under contract, I believe, but I know that Torres is a free agent. This is a big offseason for the Tigers to build around Scooble, and obviously we signed him as well. But if they're able to do that, I like their team for the future. They just don't have those surefire guarantees that a team like the Yankees do, because the Yankees are going to bring back their 2 best pitchers and their best 2 players guaranteed, while that's not necessarily true for the Tigers, because this year they don't know if they're getting back some of their best hitters, and obviously there's a big question around their best player by far.
Yeah, and to me, it's more than just like a 1-year outlook. The 1-year outlook, the Yankees have it, but I think over the next 2 to 3 years, as long as
that's only if you bring back Scooble.
Yeah, but I wonder if this is just kind of is like turning into a media question, like, oh, Scooble may not be signed, because he just hasn't done the negotiations during the season.
But they had them last off season though, and they couldn't come to an agreement.
Yeah, but it could have just been they may have been lowballing him and kind of want to get him to a lower number, and he didn't want that. So there hasn't been to me something to where like, oh, I want the highest amount. I haven't heard.
Does it concern you that he's Scott Boras is his agent?
I think a little bit, but I wouldn't worry too much about it, especially given just kind of what his relationship seems to be like with the Tigers. So it more feels like the media kind of pumping up the question of will he sign? Like, yes, it is a valid question, but I don't know if it's that big of a deal that he may not sign.
I disagree, because I thought 100% Judge will return to the Yankees, and while he did return, it wasn't like he wasn't talking to people and was that close. We had to give him the biggest deal on the market. Are the Tigers willing to do that?
Well, yeah, and we'll have to see. It's just, to me, the Tigers haven't not said that we're not looking to pay him what he's worth.
But they haven't said they are.
Well, yeah, but to me, it's just unknown. So I don't.
You have to speculate about a player that is this important to a team.
You
can't just assume that he's going to return.
Yes, but I also don't think you have to assume that he's not going to return. It's just
I'm not assuming that he's not going to return. However, I've seen how this has gone the last couple times that people have had their best player in a generation go to free agency. And the odds of them returning extremely low. Think Bryce Harper. Yeah. Think if a lot of these players. Bryce Harper. Think Ohtani. I mean, a lot of these guys go to free agency and that's it. They're gone. That's the last time you see them on these teams.
I think it could get to a point, yes, if they do let him go to free agency, the likelihood of him returning is low. But I think that's more of a question to see at the end of the offseason, kind of given now as it's a focus of their offseason plans of paying him and building around him.
He's the reason they got this far.
Yes.
He set the record for a strike. I think it's the most strikeouts in a winner-take-all game by a pitcher. And that doesn't go unnoticed by the other 29 teams in baseball. So
yes,
they have to answer it with the amount that he deserves. And
yes,
given what the Tigers have done, they didn't want to pay Bregman this offseason. I'm wondering how this will go.
I think that is a question, and they may just pay up for him, which would be the right move, and they may overpay, quote unquote, by giving him a super large deal, but it would make sense so they can keep him off the market.
You can't overpay for a title.
Yeah.
And if they want to win one, then Scooble has to be a part of that discussion.
Scooble does have to be a part of that discussion, and I do think it gets done. It's just, he may just, as soon as it reach off season or before the season, he may sign the deal. They may have these negotiations, and the Tigers understand they can't let him hit market, so they give him that deal.
It's not even letting him hit the market. They have to do this before the season starts.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Scooble's going to want to have the negotiation mid-season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They would do it before the season starts, and they just offer him a deal after a long time of negotiations. I could see that happening.
Well, his future is the Tigers' future.
Absolutely. But I do think should be considered hopeful given just there hasn't been anything super negative. There hasn't been anything positive either, but super negative of him not returning. It's just given that contract discussion and those have to happen. So I think it should be hopeful, and it's just getting the right guys around him for the future.
Yeah, I think the numbers on paper will matter more than the guys around him because they've already been able to make the playoffs. But you're right. Picking up some guys at free agency can only entice them more. So we'll see what they do. It's going to be a very important offseason for Detroit. And I wouldn't want him to go to a team like the Dodgers or something like that because it seems like he was already tied. This is why I'm a little bit concerned. He was already tied to the Dodgers a little bit last season, if you remember at the trade deadline. There were thoughts about maybe him getting traded.
Yeah, it does remember, but yeah. I can understand, but yeah, that kind of seems like, oh, the Dodgers like to pay maybe that. I could see him going to a team like the Red Sox and them paying a big amount of money, or even the Giants, because they're always star hunting.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a big offseason.
Yes, it is a big offseason, but I think it's a big offseason of hope, and then we just have to see what happens during this offseason for the Tigers. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.